We will go ahead on and get started with prayer. Attention prayer. Surely I am being turned to thee, O Allah, being upright to he who originated the heavens and the earth. I'm not of the polytheists. Surely my prayer, my sacrifice, my life, and my death are all for Allah, the Lord of the worlds. No associate has he in this in my command, and I am of those who submit. O Allah, thou art the King, and there is no God but thee. Thou art my Lord, and I am thy servant. I've been greatly unjust to myself, and I confess my faults. So grant me protection against my faults, Allah, for none grants protection against faults except thee. And turn away from me the evil and indecent morals, for none can turn from me the evil and indecent morals but thee. But guide me, O Allah, to the best of morals, for none guides to the best of morals but thee. O Allah, bless Muhammad and the followers of Muhammad as thou didst bless Abraham and the followers of Abraham. And make Muhammad and the followers of Muhammad successful as thou didst make Abraham and the followers of Abraham successful. For surely thou art praised and magnified in thy midst. O Allah, we beseech your aid, guidance, and protection, your mercy and your forgiveness. We invoke your spirit, your presence, your healing, your purification on this session this morning. We seek refuge in thee from the accursed Satan. And we thank you for your servants, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. In their names, we ask and pray. Ameen.
Amen.
Right. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. Assalamu alaikum and Ramadan Mubarak.
Ramadan Quranic.
Kareem.
Wa alaikum salam. Ramadan Mubarak.
Ramadan Kareem.
All right. All right. So here we are. Is that what the OJ said? Here we are. The stairway to heaven. We're on the stairway to heaven today. And this is the 24th day. I didn't know. I never would have thunk it a month ago, because we were just talking about what we're going to try to do for Ramadan. And so I've been, we said we're going to try to do the night of power, and we'll do it. I mean, whatever support we can get, we get it. If we don't get it, we just don't get it. We'll do it the night of the minister's birth anniversary. And of course, you know that I think the NOI website will be broadcasting the Beethoven violin concerto. And I believe that, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that's the one that I don't know what you all missed that what I said before, but I think the concert that will be broadcast on the minister's birthday is the one that he did out in 2000 out in California when we had Savior's Day in California. So anyway, we're gonna be doing that, and we'll just kind of play we'll play it by ear with our night of power. Of course, taking the key from our headquarters. The headquarters night of power will be on Saturday, I understand. And they said night of power should be in the last 10 days. It should be one of the odd days of the last 10 days of Ramadan. And of course, we are in the last 10 days. That part that is said to protect us from the fire, protection from the fire. And then that makes me think about the minister saying that the fire represents the fire of emotion, the fire of intense, really unbearable emotion that the people will experience, and that's also makes me mindful of the shock of the hour. That the shock of the hour is a grievous thing, and pregnant women will be laying down their burdens. Men will be looking like they're drunk, even though they're not drunk. So this is a shock. This is the shock. And we talked about, if you remember, we talked about how in the resurrection of the dead is caused by the shock. We talked about how when they put you out and let you die during certain surgeries, it's an electrical shock that brings you back. So it's like a jolt. And I think it goes back to what we were saying in some of our readings, some of the comparison we were talking about, how contrast, the effectiveness of contrast. So, if you are just having a good time, having a good old time, then all of a sudden you get shocked. It tends to wake you up. And it's sort of like the person that's in the bed, somebody throw water on them. It makes me think that I was living in a dormitory once and somebody threw some water on me when I was sleeping. That's a shock. So anyway, I hope everyone is feeling pretty good. I'm doing pretty good. I got to confront this dry mouth this morning. So you all bear with me. We're on part 24. So we will start with ayat 33 through 35.
Yes, sir. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, Surah 39, the company's part 24, section 4, rejectors will be abased. Ayat 33, I seek refuge in Allah. And he who brings the truth and accepts the truth, such are the dutiful. They shall have with their Lord what they please. Such is the reward of the doers of good, that Allah may ward off from them the worst of what they did and give them their reward for the best of what they did.
Thank you.
Allah. Allah. Allah's word speaks the truth.
Yes, ma'am. First of all, I did. I don't know if I greeted you, Sister Haviva, our Quranic reading expert. Ayat 33. He who brings the truth. Brings the truth, or it could be talking about bringing the reality of the truth to the point where you can see it. He who brings the truth, he who manifests the truth and accepts the truth. So that's dealing with a couple of gradients there when you bring the truth, and then when you accept the truth, this as such are the dutiful. So what he's saying, that what he's bringing out is that this is part of our duty, is to bring the truth and to accept the truth. Makes me think about what we were talking about when we were talking about believe. We believe, but the prophet said, no, don't say that you believe, say you submit. And we were talking about how the first stage of belief, it puts you in the position where you submit to the truth. And then after submitting to the truth, then you surrender to the truth. And so this seems to have some congruency with bringing the truth and accepting the truth, that the two gradients there. And such are the dutiful. They shall have with their Lord what they please. And such is the reward of the doers of good. And so I remind you, as well as myself, that these are promises to Allah. Allah is telling us, bring the truth, accept the truth, and you're going to have with him whatever you please. Now, understand that what you please, once you accept the truth, what pleases you at that point and what pleases you before you accept the truth may be two different things. Now, we understand that once that's why it says seek the kingdom of heaven and its righteousness, and then all that you desire will be added unto you. You just have to realize too that once you seek the kingdom of God, then the standards of God are much higher than the standards of this world, and that Allah will bless us with those things that are in accordance with his word. See, 35, that Allah may ward off from them the worst of what they did and give them reward for the best of what they did. And of course, as the Quran says in other places, this is great grace from Allah, that he will just, it makes me think of when I was in college or in school where the teacher would in certain classes, sometimes they would get rid of the worst grade that you had, and that was a big relief sometimes, all right. So y'all interrupt when you need to. Go to ayat 41.
Brother Batin, I apologize. I don't know if I greeted you in the beginning either, but assalamu alaikum.
Oh yeah, yes, ma'am. Yeah, well, you greeted when you came on, and so did I do. But it just, I feel like as I'm going through this, and then and then you're reading it. I just kind of felt a little void there that I had not personally acknowledged your presence, and just want you to know that we appreciate,
I
that you stepping up to the plate every day, with your wonderful reading and recitation of our holy book. So, as the auditor on call here, I felt it necessary to acknowledge you, and thank you once again, for the great gift that you are bestowing upon us. I'm good to see everybody. I'm looking at it, I'm seeing everybody. Sister Cheryl, Sister Ania, Brother Cordarius, Sister Tina, and Sister Denise, and at 2:15, I can't remember who.
Duranda, Sister Duranda.
Sister Duranda. All right. Always a wonderful pleasure. Here comes somebody else in See, y'all bringing me up already. I'm confronting this dry mouth. I'm gonna kill it. I'm gonna hit it with a left, hit it with a right. So all praise is due to Allah. It's just good to be with your family. And I see everybody's beautiful, bright smiles here. And so that's just bringing me up on the tone scale. See, this is an ordinance session. See, people don't want to realize this is definitely an ordinance session. And it's something that people don't realize because, see, we think, we like, you remember the movie, The Karate Kid? When the guy went to the old master, I want to learn karate. And so the master gave him some stuff and told him to wax this car. And so he got out there. He said, man, what you talking about? I want to learn karate. And so he didn't realize that he was really learning karate. So we don't realize oftentimes that this is auditing. And it's just a different approach to auditing. And it's not really different. I mean, it's Mr. Hubbard really, he points it out, but and that's one reason why a lot of people don't come on, because they don't really see the value of the straight wire. And all of this is in the Quran too. You look at the history of Shu'ab, and you can find great parallels there. So we move on to Ayat 41, sis.
Ayat 41.
And 42, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. Ayat 41. Surely we have revealed to thee the book with truth for the good of men. So whoever follows the right way, it is for his own soul. And whoever errs, he errs only to its detriment. And thou art not a custodian over them. Allah takes men's souls at the time of their death, and those that die not during their sleep. Then he withholds those on whom he has passed the decree of death, and sends down others back to an appointed term. Surely there are signs in this for people who reflect. Allahu Akbar.
Okay. We've revealed the book with truth for the good of men. So whoever follows the right way, it is for his own soul. And I think that is a point of spiritual maturity when you realize that it's you do good for your own soul. This is for your own good that you do good. Now, that is not the highest level of good. I remember Brother Jabril was saying, he was talking about duty. And he said duty is actually the lowest form of good. So now we're talking about gradients of doing good. So he says, whoever follows the right way, it is for his own soul. So if you follow it for your own soul, then I think that may be a degree above just doing your duty. But when you get to a certain level in your development, you do good because you love to do good. See, and this is one of the things that we shoot for in our spiritual development. 42, Allah takes men's souls at the time of their death, and those that die not during their sleep, then he withholds those upon whom he has passed the degree of death. So in other words, when we die, Allah takes the soul. And I'm trying to get out of the thing, I have to catch myself of saying Allah takes my soul, as though there's something that owns my soul. There's nothing except Allah that owns my soul, but my soul owns everything else except Allah. See, that's what we have to realize, that we think that the soul is owned by the body. And that's one reason why the body affects us the way it does, is that we consider the body to be senior or superior to the soul. But the soul, it starts with the soul. The soul is the generator of thought. Therefore, the soul controls. Thought is what controls everything. Thought is what controls everything. Thought is what produces everything. It produces matter, energy, space, and time. Thought does that. The body may produce it, it may produce it out of something else. In other words, you can build a fire with your hands and create some energy, but that's the only way that you gonna create some energy on that very gross level. But the soul is the essence of yourself, and Allah, it returns, as the Quran teaches us, the soul returns to Allah. And then he withholds those during your sleep. Allah takes the soul even then, which actually it would, as they say, as it were, it would seem that we would even take going to bed even more serious than we do, if you know that every night that Allah, when you go to sleep, that Allah has your soul. There I am talking about your soul again. You see what I'm talking about? All right. So when Allah takes the soul, even when you sleep, and you remember we used to say, now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I so pray the Lord my soul to take. And so I remember the minister was, he came just short of endorsing that as a part of the prayer, because it's true. There's truth in that particular prayer. Realize that when you lay yourself down to sleep, and I think that that may be something that we can postulate to improve our lives, is that when we lay down and go to sleep, we can just tell Allah, oh Allah, what does it say? As you take my soul, oh Allah, nourish it. Nourish my soul, Allah. Purify my soul. Cleanse my soul. Strengthen the soul. The soul. The soul. There I am again. And then that shows something about my condition, that I haven't accepted it all the way. I know it, but I just really hadn't accepted it. So it goes back to what we were just saying. I'm just bearing witness. I ain't saying I'm bearing witness against myself, but I'm just bearing witness to what it's saying. It said, you got the truth. When you got the truth, then you got to accept the truth. The truth is that the soul is superior to the body. So you keep on saying my soul. If you keep on saying it, or you keep on thinking my soul, then you kind of juggling up things in your mind, especially when you understand that the soul is superior.
Brother Batin?
Yes.
I think you might have answered this question before, but I just need a refresher. What is exactly the difference between the soul and the spirit? And also, does animals have souls? Or is it the breath also considered?
What was the last part of the question? Is the what?
Is the breath what is being taken each night? Or is that the spirit? I'm getting a little bit boggling everything up together here.
You really trying to wake me up this morning. Yeah, she just threw the hot tamale in my lap.
Oh, praises.
Uh, the soul and spirit is the same thing. You know, you got
Okay.
soul, you got spirit, you got in Scientology, you got Thetan, you got in spirituality, life force, you know, in some religions, self-God. It's all the same thing. Just like Allah, Jehovah, Yahweh, Elohim, you know, all of these are different names for God. You got different names for the soul. And the soul is actually that part of Allah that is within you. And it should be delineated, or it should be separated in our thinking from the mind. See, the soul and the mind are different. The mind is just basically the repository for facsimile, and it is the entrance point of the soul. So your analytical mind, you have your analytical mind and you have your reactive mind. The mind stores the facsimiles. The analytical mind is sort of like the portal, and it's such a interesting scenario when we think about the mind and the soul. And the soul, the analytical mind, you know, as we talk, see, the analytical mind is the mind that is in present time. In present time is not present time anymore. As I talk, present time is constantly moving. And then the analytical mind is monitoring events that are happening in time, in real time, in present time. So you have the mind, and then the soul is what is monitoring. Excuse me, I made a mistake when I said that. The soul is monitoring the mind. The mind is the pictures that have been stored, and that are currently and constantly being stored. All right. The soul is what looks at the pictures. That's what looks at the pictures. You understand what I'm saying? All right. So you got your mind, and then you have the soul, which is the essence of your being. The soul is the sum. What gives your soul identity, gives the soul identity, is the accumulation of experiences. The soul is the person. What kind of a person are you? I say, what kind of person is Sister Haviva? We're talking about the sum of her experiences in the state of her beingness. When we talk about a person, if a person dies and I'll just say if brother so and so dies, and then you at the janaza, you at the funeral, whatever it is, the body gets the funeral. And I'm going to bring this, just bear with me for 1 second. I'm going to bring this up again, because I find myself referring back to this a lot, which is good. If you will bear with me, please. Hope everybody's all right. My mouth is getting a little bit less dry.
We're tracking with you, sir.
Okay, so he says, and I need to highlight this here, since I'm always coming back to it.
And what is that you're going back to?
I'm going back to the handbook for pre-clears questions, the ones that come from the extension course that I shared with everyone. I shared the questions, and if anyone on this call does not have them, please let us know. We would gladly get them to you. All right. So he said. So we're talking about the.
Brother Batin,
Yes.
I'm sorry, can you tell me which question number that is, please, sir?
57 and 58.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. 57, when we say soul, and then you can say person. But then I guess it gets a little bit complex there. But let me just read you the question is, what is the composite that makes up you as a personal identity? It says you as a personal identity are the composite of all your experience plus an initial decision to be and occasional decisions not to be. Now, when it's a composite, that means that it's composed. In that word, you have compose. And I'm hoping that you all are picking up on this. I'm not assuming that you are, because a good teacher never assumes that. But sometimes when you don't assume it, sometimes people will feel like their intelligence is being insulted. And I think you all know me better than that. But I'm just saying, composite. That's when you put all of the different stuff together. Then you have a composite. So your personal identity is a composite of all your experience plus an initial decision to be and occasional decisions not to be. So the soul that is you, see, the life force that is you. Now you think about even that word life force. Life force, life, the word life is synonymous really with understanding in the tech. All right. So as a personal identity, your life, what is your life? Your life is your experience. And so when you think of me, what you see Brother Batin, but really as you look at me, you are seeing the composite of these 66 and a half years that I've been on the earth. You see, you're looking at, that's what you're looking at. You are looking at the manifestation in the body of the soul that belongs to me. See, and this is very similar to what we say in the understanding of our God, Master Farad Muhammad. We say that Allah came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. So his personal identity, we're talking about the composite of all his experience. We're not talking about the body. We're not talking about this body. See, this body is going to die. But at death, well, then Allah is telling you right now, when I die, then I'm going to return to Allah. What is it that returns to Allah? What is it? I mean, is it a bunch of smoke? Abracadabra, jillima? What returns? It is the entity of reality. Allah is the only reality, but it is the entity of reality that is related to all of the experience of Brother Batin. And I have come to believe, and we've had this conversation a few times before, but we can have it again because we can always learn something from it, that well, before I go into that, let's go to the next question, then we'll come back to what I was about to say. It said in 58, it said, explain how personal identity is quite evidently eternal. You do not die as an entity or a personality. And that's why it says, I forgot where it is, and I've got it flagged, because as you may guess, I'm reading ahead. I'm actually finished reading the Quran for this month. But in a future verse, it talks about the person of God remains. I don't remember the exact terminology, but it says that you do not die as an identity or a personality or an individual. You and the mess body separate, and the mess body gets a funeral. You, the soul, the Thetan, spirit, life force, then link to the protoplasm line with your genetic blueprint in the orthodox manner of conception, birth, and growth. So it returns to Allah, and then obviously Allah, you get another body. This is the same thing that we're taught about the Savior. That the original God, he created a body for himself, created his wife, his woman, the second self of God. And when the original God died, then the person, which is the composite of his experience, transferred to another body. So if I'm a descendant from this God, why would I not think that the same thing happened to me? And now, since Mr. Hubbard have discussed, he discovered this through research, that's what happens. And since we know Islam is science and mathematics, then we should be able to discover something about Islam through science and mathematics. And since Allah is the only reality, everything that we discover in science and mathematics is Islam. All right? So you have the soul, the mind, the body, the universe, and God, the creator of all of the above. And I think that's very important that we let our minds marinate. You know how it is when you marinate something? What you marinating it in, it begins to permeate. If you marinating some chicken or some lamb, see, I am with my Ramadan fantasies again. If you marinate some meat with some good marinade, then the marinade begins to permeate the meat and flavors the meat or the vegetables or whatever it is. All right. So these are the things, since they are fundamental in our understanding of who and what we are.
Wow.
Who you are, see, who you are is your personality. What you are God.
Mm-hmm.
You see. All right. So that's a wonderful question, Sister Haviva. And then you asked something else at the end. I forgot. Something else you said right there at the end.
Well, Brother Martin, you answered the last question, but I'll present it. But I was trying to differentiate between soul, spirit, and breath.
But you said breath. Right. Yeah, well, see, that right there to me is that's one that I mean, if I answered it for you, I need to answer it for myself, because I don't know if I'm I still got a ways to go with all of this, don't get me wrong. But I guess when it said the breath of life, that would be the point in which the threshold of life transcends from theta to mest, or where it integrates, where the two come together and form a living being. So you breathe into him the breath of life. And so you got the cycle of action: start, change, and stop. So you start, there's an intent with the breath of life. And then the change comes when the intent and the physical universe collide and interbulate. You see, become as one. And then you have life. That's change. And then stop is the last part. That's when you do that last little thing, which is a breath. then you go out the opposite way that you came in. So when you expire with the exhalation, and I'm hoping that I can get a PDF on this prefix, because the prefixes are so helpful in aiding us in our understanding of words. Still got a little dry mouth, but I'm getting a little bit better. Help me out, Sister Denise. Go ahead.
Okay, Assalamualaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
You were saying you didn't know how we were receiving this. You were explaining some things to me because coming from the church, understanding when a body leaves us, what actually leaves. Does the body leaves us, but the essence, and I was looking up the word essence, the total. That's why ministers say when you look at people, you don't really see the person, that real person. You, like you say, you see their personality, you see them, but you don't know what all encompass them to make them the person that we're looking at, the person that we see. And that's why we talked about divinity, to see the divinity in the person. And I was thinking about that scripture that said that you can't worship God unless you worship him in spirit and in truth. And in truth, to actually see what the person is made of, and to see, to be able to see God in another individual. And the messenger say, when you look at the black man and woman, you looking at God, to actually see God in that person, and in their person. And the knowledge, knowing God is knowing yourself. So I was, as you were talking, my mind started thinking about, the minister saying, yeah, you see me, but do you really see me? Do you see my essence? You see everything that makes up? Because once I leave, you won't see that anymore. That, I used to love the way Brother Patine, always was happy, and but what made him like that? So that's what I was thinking about. I don't want to get into the deep stuff.
No. I mean, I think this is the time to do it. You know what I mean? This month is about getting close to Allah, and man, I would say we have. I'm saying we're a good deal underwater now. We may as well kick and swim on out. You know what I mean? And because the as you were saying, this is part of the effort to reconcile the seen with the unseen. See, we believe in the unseen. You believe in the unseen, and I guess the fact is that what you see don't change. See, I can show you this right here. This bad boy here is not changing. But the unseen, like the unseen, is always changing. See? And so we think about the Savior. It's an interesting challenge to reconcile the finiteness of a man, a human being, with the infiniteness of God. So when we say that God appeared in a man, it's taking our mind in a couple of different directions simultaneously. because as a man, we have fixed ideas. But when we think about God, we're thinking about an infinite entity. And I think that's a word that we should put in our word families. Entity. So going back to what we were saying is that he said that the person, see, Allah, the infinite creator of the universe, appeared in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. So he appeared in a man that had a certain personality. This personality is the composite of past experiences. Now, the question that we should ask in this would be, this personality, is this composite, is the composition of the personality consisting of just someone who came into existence February 26, 1877? Or is the personality composite consisting of one who originated creation since before we had time? See, so when we hear that the Savior could recite history, 150,000 years of history day by day, so where did he get that from? So we're not trying to, we not, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told you and me. He said, he's not a spook. So if the original God, from the original God's lifetime, he accumulated experiences that made up his personality. When his physical body died, then this person, these experiences, transferred to another body. That means he took all of these experiences with him. And so forth and so on down the line to February 26, 1877, when that baby came out. Well, it's a baby. He has to grow into a certain the physicality to be a man. But in that particular man was the person of God, which is the composite experiences consisting of 78 trillion years of experience. And so some people might say, well, then if it's the universe is 78 trillion years ago, how come he could just tell you about 150,000? Well, you don't know which 150,000 he was talking about. First of all,
Brother Bati, you teaching, sir. Good God Almighty.
Allah is teaching. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, sister.
Yes, sir.
Praise be to Allah.
Woo.
You know, yeah.
You the composite of him, sir. So
And so are all of us. And that's what he came to tell us. That he ain't just, you understand what I'm saying? That this is not just for him. He came to turn this stuff back over to us. See? And so, praise be to Allah. So he said, so if that 150,000, and a lot of times it could be more than 150,000 years. But see, when you teaching the people that's been in the mud and been dead, you can't shine the light too bright unless you blind them too. And I will remember from now on what Brother Student Minister Ishmael, said at Savior's Day 2019 in the Who is God workshop. He said that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told him, he said he was talking to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad about God, and he said, yeah, God knows everything, right? He said, Honorable Elijah Muhammad told him straight up, he said, well, brother, God does not know everything. He just knows enough to be God. You know, because some of it ain't even relevant. Some of it, that's back then, 7 to 8 trillion years ago. A lot of stuff in 7 to 8 trillion years ago, it probably ain't even relevant now. Just like when we say, what's the total population of the original man and the wilderness of North America and all over the planet Earth? 1930, that's not really relevant today. The population is growing. So you need to stay up on what's going on. And that's one reason why you notice how Black folks, we like to stay up with the latest fashion, with the latest this. That's how we are. We are right down to the modern time. We are cutting edge everywhere you look at it. We're cutting edge anything that we do, especially in our art. Miles Davis, the great jazz musician, in the 70s, you know, Miles' music went through so many different changes, and he was doing different kind of music. And so he was at a concert, and one time he said, white boy asked him, he said, well, can you play so and so and so? Miles said, look, get the CD. I don't do that no more. We are the most innovative people on the face of the planet, or everybody follows us. See, art is one of the most profound mirrors of the culture of a people. So, what culture is the collective manifestation of a people's thoughts. It's a collective expression of people. Go ahead, my dear sister Denise.
Yes, sir. I am so happy to be a member of the Nation of Islam. Let me tell you. What I wanted to say as well, Sister Belinda, I'm just so happy to be a member of the Nation of Islam at this time. I was thinking about DMX's funeral, his janaza, and what the minister said. I'm not talking about nobody else. I'm talking about what he said and how he.
Ain't nobody else said that. Go ahead.
I mean, it's nothing to say because someone said that's the eulogy right there, you know. But it was him going to the essence of DMX, you know, because he was transparent. I mean, he was who he was, and he didn't try to fake it. He just gave it to you raw and rough. And how he was telling his children and the people lies that he touched with his essence on the inside of him. He just gave a little bit here, a little bit there. And as they was talking about him, you know, especially Black Pearl, you know, the entity of what made him, you know, who he was. And it wasn't about his rap, but it was about how he rapped with everybody that he came in contact with, that he shared himself with those people, and how, you know, they'll be saying, you know, I remember when Earl said this. I remember when Earl did this. Like we said now, the minister said, the messenger said, you know, because a part of them it's in us as well. You know, so I was thinking, and when he finished saying what he said, and he said ashes to, and the audience was saying ashes to ashes and dust to dust. When he said that, it was like it relieved everybody. Like we can't even cry anymore. I mean, because the minister done told us who he really is, you know. And so I was just thinking about that as you was talking. Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Praise be to Allah. That's called an origination. You'll learn a little bit more about that in auditing later, because we're gonna take this auditing thing to another level. I just feel like that. I feel like in this group that we're gonna be able to really do some effective auditing. You know, some more effective. Don't get me wrong, because I know sometimes that may sound like I'm a little hard on the COS, Church of Scientology, and I'm just very grateful to everybody in the church. You know, just for the record. Yes.
Ratin.
Yes, sir.
Assalamualaikum to everyone. Assalamualaikum to everyone. Ramadan Mubarak. I kind of can't contain myself. I'm trying not to be on because I'm out here in the field. But man, you clearing it up, brother, because man, it kind of just hit me how the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, what it meant when he responded to Brother Ishmael when he said God don't know everything. Think about it. You like you said, it probably wasn't just you would probably doesn't was just does didn't wasn't relevant. Ain't relevant. You don't need to know.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah, that's right.
So that explains it. Now, quickly, I just want to say the Album Mrs. Farrakhan taught us years ago. It taught me years ago. I said Jesus taught me years ago. He said, taught me to say, when you look at me, you're not seeing the real me. You're seeing what makes this move, what makes this speaks, what makes this walk, talk, and jump. It's just a manifestation of the real me, like Master Father Muhammad, who Allah came in. So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said numerous times, he said, read John. Read the book of John. You know what he's telling us? He's saying, read about me. That's what he's saying.
Yes, sir.
Read about me. In book of John, Jesus speaks a lot about himself. Talk a lot. That's the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan. We're not talking about the historical Jesus. We're talking about the prophetic Jesus, the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan.
Yes, sir.
That's Jesus, the real Jesus, the true Jesus, who really, well, I wouldn't say he's the only one that matters, but the prototype, of course, brought him in. So that's my piece, but I won't come back on because I won't be able to shut up. So I just listen from here on in.
That's all right, brother. You
I
come
love
on when
that
you
part.
come when the spirit hits you. This is our Ramadan Straightwire Holy Ghost revival today.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, Saint. Go ahead.
Sister Habiba, correct me if I'm mistaken, but didn't you ask if animals had a soul too?
Yes.
I did.
I hear that. I want to hear. I want to hear that.
Okay. All right. I'm glad you said it. We're gonna Sister Belinda, don't let Sister Haviva back on the call no more. She asking
you all told me to open up for.
That's right. That's right.
be careful what you ask for. Well, I'm gonna tell you. I'm just gonna tell you my thoughts. And and generally, if I got enough courage to say it, I've thought about it. Because I went through some of the training I went through. If I had two mentors, and I just got to tell you this right quick. I had two major mentors that was not up for no kind of BS. You better not say nothing crazy around them because they would correct you. And I ain't gonna say without mercy, but it was like make me think about something that brother Lukeman was saying about numbers, the first letters being num, N-U-M-B. Because they would tell you straight up, no, brother, you are that's not correct. And it wasn't anything personal. He's just correcting their brother, and that just made me think about that. But but what it did is it made me think about what I say much more than I did before I say something about it. Because they used to make me feel so small when I started talking about something that I really did not know what the heck I was talking about. And I'm not saying that to say that I just know now, but I'm just saying if I say something, 99 times out of 100, I have thought about it. And it just so happens, Sister Haviva, that I had thought about this, what you're talking about. And I'm presenting it to you as a theory. And this is Brother Batin's take on it now. Is that I think that living things all of them have a certain degree of theta. And part of the basis of my belief comes from the theta mess theory. See, when you understand that theta mesh theory, the theta mesh theory basically says that when theta encounters and interpolates into mesh, there is an acquiring and accumulation of data. It is an acquisition of data whenever they get interpolated. All right. You interpolate. The theta meets mess. So you acquire knowledge of this mess. All right. And so when you disinterpolate or you pull back, the theta pulls back. Now, when it pulls back, well, it's been interpolated. So now it has this data that it's working with. The next time theta encounters this mess, it encounters the same mess, but this time it is encountering it with the data from the last encounter. And so forth and so on. And then there is a cycle. So every time there is an encounter, there is an accumulation of data, cumulative data. And so every time there is an reinterpolation, there actually is evolution, because every time you do it, the accumulation gets better and better, or gets more and more. And so I believe that this is why plants adapt to environment, because they have theta that adapts to whatever stress the plant might go through. You see the plants adapting. You see insects adapting. You spray roach spray on roaches. You see the roach adapts. Theta mess. You spray that poison on the roach, and then the theta in the roach collects data. And over a period of time, the data accumulates to the point where the poison don't even affect the roach no more. You see all kinds of life adapting. So, yeah, theta has the ability. Mr. Hubbard also calls it a static. It's the ability to evolve. And this is part of the center of the theory of evolution, not necessarily Charles Darwin. But see, in this world, they believe that, well, it's either got to be creationism or evolution, one or the other. They never thought that it could be possibly both. So these are just things for you to think about. I think we were talking about emotions. We were talking about the other day, we were talking about emotion and counter emotion. And certainly we can see that in the animal kingdom. You know, with your dog, you know your dog. If you had a dog and the dog gets lost. And I remember one time a dog got lost and he showed up at our house as a little boy, and it was one of those pedigreed dogs. It was a Pekingese dog. And so we took the dog in, and we advertised in the paper that somebody lost a dog, and this is our address, 403 4th Street, and the number, 22372. I'm just flexing my memory from the STW. Anyway, that y'all could come and pick the dog up. So one night this white man comes to the door, and so soon as that dog saw that man, I mean, the Pekingese is a small dog. And I figured the man had to be at least about 6 feet tall. That dog jumped all the way up into that man's bosom. And the man was happy. He was happy. You could see the dog you can tell when a dog gets happy. Animals have emotion. And we were talking the other day about how possibly this is part of the language. See, language has to do with reality. And birds have emotions. You think if a bird is feeling bad, he gonna be chirping? Them birds are happy when they wake you up in the morning. These birds are thankful that Allah gave them another day. Now, they may not be expressing it with that kind of detail, but the short answer is yes. Maybe that wasn't so short either, but but I think all living things have theta. And my theory is that due to the theta mesh theory, that eventually even white folks will come around, because Allah is the truth. See, you can't get around Allah, so that means you can't get around the truth. And so some of us, we are mad and we are obsessive in our vindictiveness. We are excessive in our desire to get even with white folks. We want to just see them destroyed and smashed and splattered all over everywhere. And obsession will make you do that. It will make you think like that. But through the theta mesh theory, I think that it is a chance that one day that they can come back. Now, whether they will or not, I don't know. But I'm just looking at the science, the possibility. Now, we know that there are certain things that are said in the teaching. But understand that Allah is trying to get all of his flock. And sometimes there are things that are said, and certain things that are in the teachings that are rhetorical. Certain things that are rhetorical. They're said in such a way to direct you away from the mental pictures that might be harmful to you as an individual. We go back to what we were saying about life after death. That we're taught that when you in the nation, we're taught that when you die, they put you in the ground. That's it. Ain't nothing else. And the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan said, it's been in the last 10 years or so, he was saying that, well, actually, there really is something after death. And he said that the reason that we were taught like that is because that if, given the condition of our people, we are so dead, if we got the thought that there was something after this, then we would just give up and say, look, I'm gonna wait until that time comes, and then I'll put my best effort then. You see. So that's what we're dealing with, beloved brothers and sisters. Everybody all right? Everybody still on track? We tracking together?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Praises be to
Yes,
Allah.
sir.
Okay, well, one thing before we move on, and I guess this is just one of those soul kind of days, because man, if you need to understand about yourself, you got to have a thorough knowledge of self. We can read all the way through the Quran, and certain things that's more important than others in the Quran or in the teachings and anything else. Is always, that's why we're given wisdom. Wisdom help us to discern and to delineate the things that are really important from the things that may not be as important. So when you start talking about this thing about the soul, the mind, the body, the universe. And so all of this we are taught, and then with the Quran, see, the Quran talks about it too. If Allah takes your soul at death, well, what is he gonna do with your soul at death? If it ain't nothing gonna happen, if ain't nothing else gonna happen to it. What is he doing? Would you tell me, Allah, what you gonna do with my soul? What are you doing? Some of them he holds. Why is he holding it? Why is he holding on to it? And then we see we see the patterns of Allah in his universe, that he really is not wasteful. He does not waste. He's a very efficient God. So why, if I go through this life and I've done all of this studying, I've done all of this striving to be upright, I've prayed, I've sacrificed, I've lived, and I've died for Allah. This experience, this personality, would not this personality be useful? The accumulation of thoughts, emotion, and effort, it makes up the soul. It gives the soul flavor and character. So when this body dies, and Allah still can use all of the good things, allow it to go into another body. And so that's one reason why you see these children, how delightful they are. They're expressing things from another life, is what I believe.
Yes.
And you see the young children never had a piano lesson, playing classical music. So We need to understand or try to understand or allow ourselves to understand. Or let Allah draw us into the understanding of who we are. Mr. Hubbard, another word that he uses for the soul and the thetan and the life force and the spirit is the static. He's called the static. So now static is really a more of a mathematical and scientific term that represents the soul, the spirit. He says that the static is an entity. And it might be a good, look up that word. Somebody look up that word, Belinda, if you would, entity. See if you can look at that. He says static is something without mass, without wavelength, without time, and actually without position. Or space, you could say space. He said that's a static, and that is the definition of zero. He says because the static, which is Allah, in scientific and mathematical terms, and of course we are taught that Islam is science and mathematics, so we need to be able to understand Allah from the perspective of science and mathematics. That the static is the definition of zero. Think about that. And he also says, and I'm sure it's in this definition because I like to go from the definitions that I know by heart, Heart. He says it's zero and infinity at the same time. He said that Allah is zero. He is the absolute zero. He's the definition of zero because Allah is the beginning of everything. Before you have anything, what do you have to have? It got to be zero. Because if it ain't zero, then that means something else is there. Gots to be zero. And even in the cycle of actions, when you look at the tone scale as it relates to the cycle of action, you have start, which is 40, change, which is 20, and then you got stop, which is 0. And since it is a cycle, that means the cycle repeats. When the cycle repeats, in order for the cycle repeat, it has to stop to 0 for it to stop, for it to start again, for another cycle to start. If it's not at 0, then there's not a starting point. Okay. A static by definition is something that is in a complete equilibrium. It isn't moving, and that's why we use the word static.
Is it a static with the A in front of it, or just static with the S?
Static is with the S.
Okay. Yes.
All right. Do you have the technical dictionary, Sister Denise?
I have to check it and see. Yes, sir. I was just listening to how you were pronouncing it. Okay.
Okay.
So
Yeah. You know, sister, I'm a country boy. You might sometimes I have to have an interpreter.
It's okay. I know about speaking in tongues.
I'll accept that. All right.
I put it in the chat too, the definition.
Okay. All right. See, by definition, it's perfect. All that stuff is perfect. So when the original God, which was static, when he created the universe and had to alter it a bit so that it could persist, that's when the egg shape or the ellipticals, all of this imperfect stuff came about, because the static itself, Allah, is perfect. Allah is perfect, but his creation is less than him. It's not gonna have the same degree of perfection that he has, because it has to deal, or it has factors in it that have to be present in order for it to remain in existence. There has to be some counter force. There has to be creation, then you have counter creation. The counter creation causes the imperfection, but then it also causes the intention to bring it into perfection. And it also creates a negative pole, a negative polarity, which causes or which creates energy. And that's why all of your batteries have a negative and a positive pole. And it is the interaction between the negative and the positive poles that creates the electric as well as magnetic energy. Okay? So the static, mathematically speaking, is perfect. But understand that, see, mathematics is just something that is abstract. You know, mathematics is just a way to measure something. So it isn't moving, and that's why we use the word static. Not in an engineering sense, but in its absolute dictionary sense. Number 3, an actuality of no mass, no wavelength, no position in space or relation in time. But with the quality, check this out now. It has a quality of creating or destroying mass or energy according to intention, locating itself, got something to do with self-determination, locating itself, or creating space or of relating time. So we believe that Allah, the creator, located himself in a man that we call Master Farad Muhammad. This is the location that he chose.
Brother Patine,
Yes, ma'am.
what you're saying is making me think about us, the so-called Negro. We're told that we are, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches that we are the right material for God's kingdom to come through, if I'm saying it right.
Yeah.
And in Theology of Time, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad on the blackboard drew the zero. And from what I remember, that's us. But with the one behind it, Allah, as the one, we become a 10, and then we just, with more zeros, we grow and grow and grow, but Allah is behind us. So we are nothing. We are a nothing people. Yet everything comes from us. Like you said earlier, people want to copy us. Our music, our just swag, they just want to copy us.
That's right.
We
Don't blame
are
them.
the right material. We are zeros. And that's a blessing because we can be just created. Allah can mold us if we let him mold us into himself because we have been made zero. If I'm saying, if you understand what I'm saying.
I'm following you. I'm with you, sister. We are in
So
agreement.
we are true static. So does that make us true static?
Well, the static is really the cause factor. See, the static is the cause factor. What we are is a result of the divine characteristics or the divine qualities that are inherent in the static. So it says that how did they put this? Y'all gonna make me get my books out. Let me see. Let me just try to explain it the best way I can, but I see I'm gonna have to get it out. See, you have the ability as a static of you can have an opinion. See, your opinion, your personality is beyond beyond matter, energy, space, and time. You are good, independent of matter, energy, space, and time, but your goodness or your godliness cannot be perceived except through matter, energy, space, and time. Is that it?
Say that again, Brother Batim. Could you say that
That
again?
you have the qualities, actually you have the qualities, you have actually the attributes of Allah. All of these things are actually above and senior to matter, energy, space, and time. But they cannot really be appreciated or measured except in matter, energy, space, and time. And that's why God's only real expression is in a man. That's why you can search for trillions of years for all of these qualities and you'll never find it until you find a man. And that's not what the lesson say? It said that we searched for trillions of years for a mystery God. You're not going to find it, even though the qualities exist, but you can't really call it God until it takes the form of man. Go ahead, Brother Luke Man. Salam alaikum, sir.
Salam, family. Ramadan Kareem. Pardon my tardiness, but I just landed back in New York and I had to jump on because I wanted to get at least a little bit of the call today.
Praise be to Allah, brother. We're happy to have you, sir.
Happy to be here. What you're saying reminds me of a verse from the Bible that says, the invisible things of this world from the beginning are clearly seen through the things that are made, even God's power and the Godhead, so that they will be without excuse. So the Bible tells us that you can't see the unseen unless you see it through the seen, and that even the Godhead you're able to see the Godhead visually. And that's Book of Romans.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. We all tracking together, y'all?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yes, sir, Brother Batim.
Be to Allah. But see, the thing is that, we've had this conversation before and we're going to have it again. We're going to keep on having it again because what's happening? The theta mass theory. Every time you visit this, you are going to grow. See, Allah, just like what Brother Luke Mom was saying, see, he got the unseen. There's an unseen, you got an unseen patron in his universe. See? And the more we engage in this universe, the more the closer we become to the mastery. Only thing you got to do is just keep on living. So you're gonna survive. Surviving is something that you do without trying to do it. Right, Brother Clinton? And it's just beautiful when you begin to see it. See, when you start opening up all of these new layers, when you start peeling this doggone onion back, and then you begin to discover all of the wonderful things that Allah, has for us in terms of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of ourselves, and bearing witness to the teachings. See, this is not for everybody. You should understand that too. This level of teaching is not for everybody. Yet, eventually, everybody will do it. But Allah, as the minister gives us the beautiful depiction, he said, the minister said, I can get a bunch of seeds and throw it into a fertile ground. All of them are not going to grow at the same rate. And I just happen to believe that those of us who are on this call, and many others too, but we can speak for those who are on this call, that we are in some different kind of territory, mentally, spiritually. So some people, it might not affect the same way that it affects us. And I'm hope and pray to Allah that it does not affect anybody on this call adversely. Because see, we are dealing with the foundation of our faith. We are striving to increase the density of our understanding of the first pillar of belief in the one God. But see, Allah took it to a whole nother gradient when he said, yeah, Allah is God, and besides him, there is no other God. But now he actually gave the manifestation of God a location. So where does it say? It says that I'm trying to say what it said. He said no position. It said it has the quality of creating or destroying mass or energy, locating itself or creating space. See, Allah can create space. He can create matter, energy, space, and time. He created a body for himself. So you would not know the qualities of Allah if it were not for matter, energy, space, and time. Matter, energy, space, and time is the canvas that the God uses to paint the picture of divinity, to paint the picture of his divine self, of his majesty. That's what he's saying all through the Quran. He said, look at the heavens of the earth. He said the moon and the stars, he said, they all float with orbits. Look at this painting. Look at this divine sculpture. So you talk about sculpture, this little sculpture that we do as humans, but dang, Allah sculptured the universe. It's so vast. It's so vast. They're talking about light years away. Just think that the amount of the distance that it takes light to travel in a year. And it travels 186 miles per second. 186,000 miles per second, excuse me. Just lets you know how great and how wonderful a God it is that we serve, brothers and sisters. And how we should embrace him and we should try to understand as much as we can. And I really like what Sister Tina was saying too, and she was bringing it back to what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was saying about the 1 and the 0. And the beauty of the 0, you know, is you can see it in this definition of static. That's it, that Allah, when you put Allah in front of the 0, then all of the divine qualities are fed into that 0, because see, we've been made nothing, which is exactly where Allah wants us. He wants, that's why he got us in this position. He wanted us to be reduced to nothing, so that everything from this point on that would be reflected in us would be him. Something which has no motion. The word is from the Latin, meaning sto, meaning stand. No part of mess can be static. But theta is static. Theta has no motion. Even when the mess it controls is moving in space and time, theta is not moving. Since theta is not in space and time. Now that kind of stretches you out a little bit there. You know, we may have to marinate. I'm talking about myself now. It ain't like I'm talking to you. I mean, I am talking to you, but believe me, I'm talking to myself too. We're just getting deeper into who we are. And lost found nation of Islam cannot be returned to their own until they get a thorough knowledge of self. It has no motion. It has no width, length, breadth, depth. Is not held in suspension by an equilibrium of forces. So you got a man, let me finish that. It does not have mass, does not contain wavelengths. It has no situation in time, in space. That's the essence of God. So how can you become familiar with something that ain't got no place in space and time, ain't got no mass, ain't got nothing? Well, then how can you develop A, or C with that? It has to manifest itself in a man. Yes, sir, Brother Luke Ma.
There was a video on YouTube, and it was talking about some of the work of Albert Einstein. In this part of his work, they really don't publicize it too much. But Einstein, one of the things that he was teaching was that when you're dealing with the quantum physics and the particles, he was teaching that there was a consciousness in these particles, that these particles actually have the ability to be conscious and actually have the ability to think. The ancient people, they called this force in the universe the Akasha. It's also called the Akasha Records. And they state that it's a force that exists in the universe that you can't really see, touch, or feel, but contained in this force. And Sister Ava has taught on this as well, that in this field of force is recorded every thought that has ever existed.
Yes, sir. You know, Mr. Hubbard talks about that too. He talks about when you get to a certain level that every thought that's ever been in existence is actually accessible to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about that when we were talking about the Savior having access to 150,000 years of history. And when I was saying sometimes, you know, if in other words, see, when we start saying that that a man can think of everything that ever been thought, then we already spooky in our
Mm-hmm.
thinking. See, so we have to kind of temper the way that we describe certain things to our people. And but I think it's useful to understand that and to know that. So I'm gonna finish this up. We got just a few minutes left. It said the simplest thing there is a static, but a static is not nothingness. That's because we say nothingness in relationship to the space and objects of the material universe. Life has a quality. It has an ability. When we say nothingness, we simply mean it has no quantity. There is no quantitative factor. A static in physics is called something, which is an equilibrium of forces. So we should think on these things. And as always, we ask Allah to guide us. We ask Allah. See, that's what we're doing. I've been thinking about what we've been talking about, the beams of energy, the tractor beams and the pressor beams and so forth. So what we should do, you know, when we pray to Allah, we say, Allah, beam me up. You know, and I'm saying that respectfully because that's essentially what's happening. Allah is beaming us up. He's sending, we are in close proximity to him by acknowledging him. See? And so I'm here. I came this far, Allah. Beam me up. You know, connect me. Draw me in. Draw me into the mothership and close the door. Seal the door. Don't unseal it until I'm exactly like you want me to be. So this is the kind of teaching that we have to pray Allah and seek refuge in Allah from the accursed Satan. Seek refuge in Allah from the Negro that have been installed. You know, we were talking about the sleep guard. We call them sleepabless. And we may need to seek refuge from nigrobless. Go ahead, sister.
Brother, you and brother with your class every day and a class on Sunday, I think about the minister with the executive council, how he feeds the ministers, then they go back to their stations and be creative to save our people. Now, Mother Tynetta has said he would create, I'm paraphrasing, saviors to go get our people. So we get fed from you two to go out and do our little tasks in the community. So that's the reason I say this is so important. You're feeding us for us to go back and get creative to be saviors for our people and whatever, like Sister Jackie is auditing, the brothers fishing, the things Sister Belinda is doing is valuable because it feeds little saviors to go out and do our tasks. So I'm so grateful to Allah. I'm not going to get the ghost this morning. I'm going to retain that ghost. But, and I speak from the viewpoint, excuse me, of being a young woman that went into Scientology when the nation broke up. Now I'm looking at myself at 71, and for the first time since getting connected with all these different avenues, I'm understanding what Allah was doing. I didn't have patience at first at, being angry in Scientology. Well, this is our data. These white people then took our data, and not having Black people around me that understood, I was kind of resentful. I really was. I'm not beating up on white people, but I mean, nobody understood. I said, this is our data. And the few Blacks that were there didn't understand. They were the few I met. This wasn't everybody. It was assimilating into their culture. I didn't want to assimilate in their culture, but I'm understanding now. I'm not beating up on anyone. I'm just saying at 71, I'm seeing what Allah has done. I'm beginning to understand it and seeing the value. And you talked about patience. I'm understanding now the importance of patience. Brother Lukeman talked about, paraphrasing Brother Lukeman, Scientology wasn't going anywhere until we got involved because we were the true gods. And we're giving patience to the white people because we made them. They have to have grace too. I mean, we produce them. So that's all I needed to just share with the family.
Thank you, sister. Brother Luke Ma, go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. What comes to mind with sister's words is this. Minister Farrakhan represents the one that has the whole loaf of bread. And each one of us in our own cities, in our own ways, he has given each one of us a portion. And as we come together, we are bringing our bread together. So we have different ways of interpreting the teachings and the Dianetics and the scriptures, and we're bringing all this together. And in my opinion is that upon his departure, one of the ways that we keep his spirit present here with us is to continue to do what we are doing in his absence, so that we will continue to evolve and continue to grow, so that when on his return, he sees a new people that have put their bread together and have stayed the course.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you, sister.
Praise be to Allah. All right. Thank you, brother. Okay. Well, we're right at that time. And is there anyone that would like to ask or say anything else before we close the session out for today? We will be back tomorrow, 10 a.m., inshallah.
Brother Bateen, I just want to say this right quick. In the Holy Quran, the footnote 42a, it talks about animal soul and the human soul. So I thought I was reading it, and it's very interesting. The footnote in the Holy Quran.
Well, it's very interesting that you would say that, because as I was saying, as I used to teach, if Allah wrote the Quran and then he wrote this book called Universe, we should be able to find congruency in them both. And so what you're saying. Maybe I read that before. Maybe I didn't. I might have read that, but Mr. Hubbard's science alone, if you just read that, you can see that. But then now, when you bring that particular data forth, we can see how what Mr. Hubbard was saying is in line with even the Quran. So thank you, sister. Anybody else? All right. Well, thank you once again. End of session. And at this time, we're going to bring our sister Jacqueline on to give us the end of session list.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Family, please take a few moments to prepare yourself for the end of session. Thank you. Rapidly sketch over the session just ended. Begin. Thank you. Sketch over what you have been doing again with particular attention to how you have been sitting. Begin. Thank you. Go over the period of the session with regard only to what you have been doing with your hands and things in the exterior world you have heard during this session. Begin. Thank you. Fix your attention upon a pleasant object near you now. Begin. Thank you, and thank you for your participation.
Thank you, my dear sister.
Praise be to Allah.
All right. So I see we got the one and the only, the mighty Mujahid on the line today. Always good to see your beautiful face, brother. You muted.
Thank you, brother. Assalamu alaikum, family.
Wa alaikum salam, sir. Well, brother, we would be honored if you would do us the honors of closing us out in prayer.
Yes, sir. Prayer. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. All praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Master of this day of judgment in which we now live. Thee alone do we serve, and Thee alone do we seek for Thine aid. O Allah, guide us on the right path, the path of those upon whom Thou hast bestowed favors, not the path of those upon whom Thy wrath is brought down, nor those who go astray. Ameen.
Ameen. Okay, brothers and sisters, go in peace. Ramadan Mubarak. And let us all pray for guidance. Let us all pray to Allah that He guide our thoughts, because we're in somewhat unknown territory. we're dealing to a certain degree with the unseen, and I just remember, that's what my name means, one who is aware of the unseen. But anyway, we in some new territory. So, let us not take anything for granted. And if you got a question, if there's something that might have been said that you didn't quite understand, make sure that you get in contact with me, get in touch with Sister Belinda, and let's see if we can straighten out anything that might needs to be straightened out, because this is really heavyweight stuff, and you don't want to take the wrong turn. Just like you go into a bad neighborhood, you don't want to turn on the wrong street on certain neighborhoods. You get beat up. You know what I mean? So because we love you. We love you. And the beauty of it is I know you love me too.
That's right.
And that's it's a wonderful feeling, for this only child, and you know, to have some brothers and sisters that I always wanted, you know, and Allah has given me you all. And I thank Allah for each and every one of you beautiful human beings. And I'm keeping on looking forward. Brother Luke Mon, you know, I always tell the brothers and sisters, I said, man, one day we're gonna be cruising the Caribbean in one of them big, you know, them big yachts that's about long as a football field. You know, we're gonna be having our technology sessions and strategy sessions to shoot out all over the world. You know, let's think big, because you are big. You are bigger than big. You know, the universe, even the 76 quintillion miles of universe can't hold you. You bigger than that. So may Allah, go ahead, sis.
I'm sorry, brother. Well, be careful what you ask for, because Sister Belinda just got to fix for all these brothers and sisters. She got to put a big pot of bean soup. That's a big pot.
Well, when we get to that point, we may be able to hire somebody.
That part.
Yeah, they got, you know, there's a brother and sisters over in Rwanda that just relocated to Rwanda, and they got a B&B bed and breakfast, and so I said, boy, that would be something else, boy, if we could just fly everybody over there and bless Rwanda or something, you know, or go to Ghana, bless Ghana, you know, we may want to just be thinking of something that we can do collectively to bless our people, because that's what Allah wants us to do. You know, mere belief accounts for nothing, you know, except when put into practice. So again, it is a divine honor and a pleasure, you know, to share the same thought wavelengths and the presence of you all. For we know wherever two or more are gathered in my name, there I am in the midst of these, says the Bible. And I can bear witness this morning. Allah bless you all. Inshallah, we'll see you in the morning, 10 o'clock. We'll be on, inshallah, 25, day 25. I can smell them lamb chops now. All right. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum
salam.
And
Walaikum salam.
Walaikum salam, Sister Denise. Sister Habiba.
Sister Jacqueline, Sister Belinda. Walaikum salam, man. And family.
Man.
Yes, walaikum salam.